So, found this in my work list, had no idea where the hell it was from, or what the hell it was, realized it was someone who actually contacted me and asked me to read it, because they wrote it. And I'm okay with that. Just that it's about Star versus the Forces of Evil, which is a show I've never seen, and may contain absolutely awful, but I don't know. I haven't checked it entirely yet, which makes it even more fun when I'm just diving in blind to read this piece of fiction by Luna's Servant 1985 person, and I'm gonna cough a lot, so I'm sorry if that borks the fucking recording. Marco Diaz sighed as he took a sip of ice-cold water. It was Saturday afternoon. He had slept till 10 that morning and had only some corn puffs for breakfast. After that, he had his roommate he often thought of as beside best friend, Star Butterfly, had been training. Star was quite the fighter. Having guards who train you to perform a neck snap since you were 2 will do that. But she had been fascinated with Marco's karate ever since the day she first handled all those monsters with it. Marco and Star had been training for the past few hours, and it showed. Marco was dripping sweat and his body gave off a pungent musk. He took a seat in the beanbag chair he had kept in his room and sighed as his rotating bedroom fan was stopped directly on him. Man, she really worked me over today, he thought to himself as he began to unzip his red hoodie. He opted to train in it as opposed to his uniform, main as he felt his uniform was show and completion. Hoodie and sweats for friendly training. Marco sighed happily in the cooling breeze of his fan. Peace, quiet, and tranquility. What more could he... Hi, Marco! A bubbly I'm probably not going to be able to keep up voices because I have no fucking clue who says what. But, hi, Marco! Is a thing. A bubbly personality and bright-eyed magical girl said as she pounced on him. Marco screamed and jumped out of the beanbag chair before clinging like a frightened cat to his ceiling lights. Ah, Star, are you nuts? Marco said as he held on for dear life to his light. Star giggled as she skipped happily over to the light switch. Come on, lazy bones, there's still a whole day ahead of us, she shouted happily as she flicked the lights on to illuminate the otherwise dim bedroom. Unfortunately for Marco, his light was super bright. A super bright 70-watt bulb. He used those in case of a burglary in the night. The sudden shock of bright light on someone else's eye, The sudden shock of bright light on someone's eyes used to the dark, would temporarily blind them. And he was right in front of the light. So he was incredibly blinded, I'm sure. Ah! He screamed again, throwing his hands up to shield his eyes. There was a brief moment where the gravity is ignored by him letting go of the hanging light. Then he crashed to the floor in a heap. Ow! That hurt more than I thought it should have, Marco said as he felt his muscles sore and sting from the impact. The fall wasn't too high, but it was the impact that made it hurt. Star hurried over to Marco's side and helped him to his feet. Sorry, Marco, I guess I forgot you humans aren't, well, built like humans. I have no idea what a Mew-man is. She was referring to how had the roles been reversed, a fall like that to Star would have, at best, dinged her hair and left a slight stinging in her muscles. Very well, so she's a Mew-man, I guess? I'm fine, Star. You build up a whole lot of resistance to pain after you rammed your arm through a cinder block or two. He was reefing to the test for strength portion of his last karate tournament. He had beat 5 blocks to win. Needless to say, he had quite the pain tolerance after that. So, Star, may I ask why you still want to do something after we spent the last 6 hours kicking the crap out of each other? Marco asked, as Star took a seltzer from the mini fridge. What's a seltzer? From the mini fridge next to his dresser. Seltzer. Is it like a German last name? Oh, fuck me, I'm sorry. Oh, Marco. You know the Muni Princess I am craves action. Muni. Action, adventure, and so much more. Which got me thinking, she said as the seltzer guzzled down her throat, her muscles contracting and gulping hard as she guzzled the bubbly water down. I'm sorry, I'm actually reading typos, just so you know. I'm sorry about that, but there's typos and I'm gonna read them. About what, Star? What I've been thinking about, Marco said, eyeing her a bit nervously. Star giggled a suppressed and... Star giggled a suppressed a belch with a hand. Not very princess-like. Not very princess-like, as a good Mini princess doesn't belch at all, but anyway, I was thinking, we've been besties for a while. This is my Pinkie Pie voice, fuck. It sucks ass. We've been besties for a while now, haven't we, Marco? Star said as she leaned over him with an oddly flirty look in her eyes, her chest hanging low as she casually rested her head in one hand. Yeah, we have, Star, and your point? He said, not noticing how Star was inching her face to his, closer and closer. She softly rubbed her nose against his and giggled softly as she did. Marco blushed like a girl as he felt Star on his face. Star, what are doing? He was silenced by Star pushing her lips onto his hard what? No, I'm sorry. He was silenced by Star pushing her lips onto his hard. It was a soft and tender French kiss, but damn if it didn't feel good. Star's lip locked with his as she gently began to softly bite and then suckle Marco's lower lip. She let out a soft little moan into Marco's mouth as her tongue tip poked softly and touched his, just as she broke the kiss. And I am fucking the master of pacing and gotta comment on every fucking sentence. I'm killing this fic. Yes or no? Come on, Marco, I like you. You're a good friend to me. Let's have some fun. Star said as her lips planted more soft kisses on his neck, and he shivered and lost all conscious thought as she did. Star ran her hands along his hoodie, working the zipper of it. Why didn't he tell her to stop? Star? Why would you ever want to? Are you doing what I think you're doing? She nodded and opened his hoodie. Star flipped it off him and Marco eked softly. Wait, Star, I can't. His words made Star's lip quiver softly and her eyes tear up a bit. Aww, why, Marco? What's wrong? Aren't you my bestie? Don't you think I'm pretty? Is it Jackie? Star said as she stretched her left boot out and smirking at him as she pulled it off slowly. The snake demon thing like head sliding slowly along her leg until the boot had cleared her left foot. She gave the toes sticking through the fabric a cute little wiggle. Marco must have suspected Star had used some kind of special foot spray because it smelled like wintergreen and mint. Or maybe humans just gave off better body smells than humans. Hard to tell. You're incredibly hot, Star, but I can't be turned on by you, Marco said as Star's face twisted in confusion, then a frown, and finally the telltale sign of a girl with major heartbreak as she found the words spilling out of him before she began to cry rainbows. Human biology was just getting stranger, but sadder. No, Star, I didn't mean it that way. I still really like you a lot, and I really like you being your friend. Is he friend-zoning her? That's really good. Nice. Good job, mate. He said as Star began closing her eyes, pouting and folding her arms across her chest. Aren't you my bestie, Marco? Did saving Ponyhead mean nothing to you? Star said as she softly opened her eyes. She gave him her cute and big innocent little puppy dog eyes as rainbow tears ran down her cheeks. You're a princess, Star. About as far out of my league as any girl in my world or any other can get. I mean, you're the princess of Muni, and I'm a regular guy from Northern California. No, it's not because of Jackie Lynn Thomas either. She's out of my league, but only by like a few notches on the totem pole. At least I feel like I've got a ghost of a chance with her. You're the coolest girl, no, the coolest person I've met in my life, I admit. And I've had the most fun of my life thanks to you, and I'm really happy with the way things are. I don't want to ruin that by getting closer to you than what we have. Now everyone's friend-zoning themselves, he said, sighing. It was half a lie. He did want her in that way somewhat. It was his hormones, mostly talking, but also his, for a lack of a better word, love for Star. So you're saying that you... What? Alright. So you're saying that you won't allow yourself to be attracted to me? It's just because I'm a princess and because that you think I'm too good for you? Star asked, quizzically raising an eyebrow, her expression softening to one of understanding, if not refusal to accept what he said as the facts. I guess so, Star, Marco said, hoping that if he didn't look at her, things would become magically less awkward, even though he knew they wouldn't. He placed a hand on the window and could see Star's face in the glass. He sighed heavily, bracing for the worst. For a second he thought Star had understood and would ease off him, but she only turned him around to face him and smiled at him, as she took his hands in her own and gazed lovingly into his eyes. Well, what if I do this? She asked as she guided his hands to her chest, letting him get a good feel of her budding bosom over the fabric of her green blouse top. He blushed harder and shuddered softly as he got a feel for her breasts. Even over fabric they were so soft, so supple, so firm and easy to grab able. Marco felt all the blood rush south to his jeans. Karate and jeans, things that don't go together. Star, what are you, doing? Marco asked, trying not to scream like a little girl before he realized that. Even if his parents did hear him, he had shouted like a pansy at least once a day since Star first came to Earth. What, does it turn you on? Does it feel right, Marco, my friend, my bestie? Star asked teasingly with a giggle. She tilted her head and flipped her long blonde hair back before whipping it softly as it then cascaded down to the side. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I forgot. You aren't letting yourself do anything fun. Marco the Rock, Marco the Prude, and Marco the Safety Freak. How are those titles working out for you, huh, Marco Diaz? Hey, I know. Let's check for ourselves. With that, she picked up Marco's phone and checked his photo album labeled Moments with Jackie. Well, what do you know? No pics of you and Jackie. She then tried his texts. Dear Marco, please wash your underwear and fold your father's shirts. Mommy loves you. No hot sexts from Jackie. She then tried his contacts. Mom, Dad, Uncle Louise, Aunt Maria, the police, fire, ambulance, and the principal. All on speed dial. Do I see Jackie's number in there? She said with a teasing giggle, setting his phone down. No, I guess not, Star. But then, with that in mind, this is crazy. Please, as a friend, I'm asking you to please stop it, Marco said as he struggled to pull away from her body, only to be thwarted by the insanely strong magical princess wrapping her arms around him. Marco, I'm a girl who really likes you. You really like me, and Jackie only sees you as a friend zone wingman at best. Why are you being so difficult? She said, sitting back down and stripping off her other boot, slowly slipping it off in a repeat of her other one until her toes and socks wiggled free playfully in his face a bit from the chair she sat in. The next thing he knew, Star's lips pressed to his. It was a softer, more comforting kiss than the last one, and the one before wasn't just a peck on the cheek either. Partly, he hated the way the kiss felt conflicting. It made him feel torn between wanting more and wanting to just stop already. On the other hand, he couldn't stop thinking about how soft and sweet tasting Star's lips were. Her soft lips and even her mouth tasted like she'd been eating Starburst and Skittles all day. Alright then, she basically is Pinkie Pie, I guess. He assumed that despite her He assumed that despite all her primping and prettying herself up as a Meman princess, her tomboyish and take no crap from anyone style meant she went without any lip balm or whatever the equivalent was back on planet Muni. Their lips parted ever so soft as Marco felt the conflicting arguing stirring up in him. As Marco felt the conflicting argument stirring in him again. Please just turn it off now. But this time, it wasn't what Jacqueline Thomas would think if she knew, or if this was wrong or right, or even if they should be doing this. It was whether or not they should keep kissing. Star, we doing this for the right reasons? Marco asked softly, as his voice became nothing but a husky rasp and slight choke as he fought back his young and lustful desire stirring deep inside him. Let's just having some fun, Marco, she whispered back as she trailed a finger along his jaw. No strings attached, but nothing weird about it either. Stop being such a drama queen and a prude listening to this, she said, placing a hand on his head. And start listening to this. She finished, placing a hand on his chest. She could feel his heart, like a hummingbird drinking nectar hungrily and fluttering fast. Have you been watching my parents' movies again? He said, killing the mood somewhat as he chuckled nervously. Marco felt his hoodie fall away and then he undid his jeans. They hit the floor, leaving him in his briefs and a large grey shirt with 1987 written on the front. So what if I have? You could learn a thing or two from them, Star said as she guided Marco's hands to her blouse. He stopped resisting as he lifted it up over her head and gazed at her breasts as they sat in her tan bra. A modestly sized one for a pair of not quite big boobs, but damn it all if they weren't the best, the most beautiful breasts he'd ever seen. You promise things won't get weird between us? He said as he pulled his shirt down over his body, making it look like a dress before he let it snap back into place. Star giggled, lying on the bed, her legs crossed over each other as she rested her hands on the sides. Star had been reading modeling magazines again. Promise, Marco, no strings attached. And I'm serious too. We're just two best friends having fun. Close, intimate, and certainly very naughty fun, but just fun all the same, and nothing will change about our relationship status in spite of that. She tossed her devil horn hairband off and tossed it aside. Excuse the coffee. Her long blonde hair flowed free and loose now. Well, okay, Star, if that's what you really want, I guess we could try and fool around a bit. Star chuckled at his choice of words. Mew and Xal, Marco. Fool around? My parents, your parents. Fool around. Gah, Star, why would you put that image in my brain? Marco said in angst as he began smacking himself on the back of the head to get the image out of his mind. Sorry, just saying, we're fuck buddies, Marco. Why don't you throw all your prudent, reserved views on things away for a few hours and join your bestie for a few rounds in the sack? She said, patting the spot beside her. Marco looked up at Star, in just her socks, skirt, bra, and not a shred of clothing more. They had gotten this far, so what harm could there be in going a bit further? Okay, Star, I will. I trust you, and if this is what you want, then I'll do it. Marco said as he took a deep breath and crawled into bed beside her. So, how to start this? He asked as he placed her hands on his shoulders and pressed her forehead against his gently. To his gently? Oh, fair enough then. Just kiss me for starters, Star said as she placed her hands across Marco's back, drawing him close. Wait! Marco cried out in a bit of panic. As he pulled apart from her, Marco began looking around the room, a look of genuine concern on his face as he began pawing through a bunch of random junk. What's the problem now, Diaz? Worried the headboard will crack my skull? Star said, chuckling softly as she snapped the waistband of her skirt playfully. No, it's just, where the little blue guy who lives inside you. What the fuck? No, it's just, where's the little blue guy who lives inside your spellbook? Marco flipped through Star's big book of magic to find an index card with a crude drawing of a fish on a line with a single caption. Gone fishing, back in a week, love, Gloss. Who goes fishing for a week? Marco said, shutting the book and looking back at Star, who was lowering the straps of her bra onto her arms and then giving him a half-lidded gaze as she took the hem of her skirt, exposing the frilly hem of her lime green panties. You're seriously gonna ask that when you have a half-naked Newman princess practically throwing herself at you? She said with a playful little giggle as Marco climbed back onto the bed with her. He placed a hand lovingly on her cheek and pressed his lips onto hers. This time their kiss was deep and passionate. Marco didn't hold back as he flicked the tip of his tongue and blah blah. Marco didn't hold back as he flicked the tip of his tongue and Star's lips, prodding and poking at her teeth, making her giggle as she parted them, granted full access to the young princess's mouth. Marco amorously ran his tongue over the crowns of her perfect pearly white teeth. Her breath smelled of wintergreen and spearmint. She's quite minty, isn't she? He couldn't understand if it was just more human biology or if Star loved chewing those gum flavors all day. Star's hands gently ran along Marco's back. He likewise felt around on the back for the paper lilac wings she had sprouted in her What? He felt around on her back for the paper lilac wings she had sprouted in her puberty. Yes, puberty. That's a fucking word. The smiling, it hurts. They fluttered and folded up excitedly as Star moaned loudly into his mouth. You okay, Star? He asked as his fingers gently ran along the folds of her wings. Star's eyes glazed over into the back of her head as she let out a series of moans and whimpers. My wings, they can pick up on the slightest touch and zap the feeling right into my brain, she said, still lost in her bliss. You want me to stop? He asked, concerned he might be overloading her. Star seemed to not want that to happen in the slightest. Fucking hell. Leave me alone. You stop the massage, Diaz, and you'll see that Hades had no fury like a meme girl left blue-winged, she said with a grin. Though he didn't understand, he knew it wouldn't be wise to make her carry out that statement. Marco smiled and decided to get daring as he tugged on her skirt. Star didn't resist as her legs kicked the skirt off, exposing the lime green and lacy panties. Her body arched against the headboard as one of his hands cupped her Venus mound through her panties. Marco cautiously and gently slid his fingers up and down along the warm, soft and very wet folds of her pussy, while his other hand stroked the silky wings and the shoulder blades they were attached to. His actions earned an appreciative moan from Star. Encouraged by her moans and coos of approval, Marco slipped his hands under her panties, encountering a tuft of ticklish fine hair before finally experiencing the heat and slickness of her pussy firsthand. Star suddenly wrapped her arms and legs around Marco, pulling him tight against her and nearly smacking his head against the headboard as she rolled him onto his back. Oh, Marco, please don't stop, she whispered into his ear as she trembled with every caress of his slender yet strong fingers. Marco's hand slipped upwards until the tips of his fingers found her clitoral hood. The soft little nub of flesh throbbed softly as Star's sharp intake of breath told him he was hitting a sweet spot. He smirked at her as he teasingly tickled the hood and then pressed more firmly as his finger traveled onto the hard bell of her clit. Star squeezed his shoulders as she let out a sultry moan. His thumb massaged her burgeoning clit while his middle finger slipped down and began to explore the slit depths of her soft folds, quickly sinking up into the Peachy Papa Papa rap deep yep. Slick depths of her soft folds, quickly sinking it in. I can't say this shit. It's not. There's nothing wrong with it. Quickly sinking in up to the knuckle. Oh, Ksha? I guess? Ksha? Let's not make those noises. Star cried out as his ring finger joined the middle and began to dip in and out of her pussy gently. It seemed to make her get lost in the lustful haze as she shuddered with euphoric spasms. Marco felt dazed and lost in the feelings of touching a girl down there for the first time. His eyes dozed and glazed over as if he was drunk. Yes, I know that feeling. As Star kissed him on the lips softly. Here's the sentence. Star, can I eat you out? Marco asked her as he gently spread her open with his finger. Star gave him a confused look as she tried to process what he said. You want to eat me, Marco? She asked, looking somewhat confused and nervous. Marco would have face-palmed had he not remembered Star was not only from another world, but being raised as a princess, she probably didn't know beyond the basics, or at least not the slang he was using. I want to use my mouth on your pussy, Star, he said, giggling softly as he slinked down her body to her panties. She noticed that even her arousal gave off an unnaturally fragrant scent. Marco was aware that Human's girl wouldn't taste or smell as good as Star, but he was more than willing to accept that. Star giggled as she looked down at him and ran a hand through his hair as Marco gripped the hem in his teeth. What? Oh, the hem of the panties, of course. Yeah, sure. I didn't know you had that kind of gumption in you, Marco, she said as he bit and pulled the fabric down with his eyes softly lowered. Blah, blah, blah. He pulled them off her socks as she finally let her bra fall away. Star wasn't very stacked, but Marco didn't care. They were the most beautiful breasts he'd ever seen, and not on a computer monitor or his dad's collection of porn bootleg plastic sleeves. He felt he should only return the favor. Marco pulled his loose jeans down, underwear and all, as his cock sprung free and was on full display for Star. Oh my, she said sheepishly, seeing a boy naked for the first time. Star was well aware what they looked like, but you can only imagine so much from school textbooks. Okay. Marco shushed her softly as he went down on her. He planted his lips on the puffy pink slit and suckled at the sweet juices softly. Marco's favorite candy, cherry licorice. Marco's favorite candy, cherry licorice. And Star's juices tasted Okay, so I guess Marco's favorite candy is, or was, cherry licorice, and Star's juices tasted distinctly like cherry. He slurped and licked her sweet juices, and his tongue slipped as deep as he could make it go. Star let out soft moans and cries of pleasure as Marco savored her taste. "You taste divine, Star," Marco praised as he kissed and licked her pussy, the folds quivering as more juices dripped onto his chin, staining the sheets a bit. His sheets even. Right on. Star rubbed his hair softly as he ate her out. He could tell that she was getting close. He doubled his effort as he ate out Star's pussy faster, his tongue darting like a frog's as he darted at her clit again and again. "Oh, Marco. Oh, fucking sweet, merciful Saint Olga, Marco. I'm gonna... She cried out as her eyes shut open, rolling into her head softly as her wings fluttering so hard they sounded like a baseball card in the spokes of a bike wheel. Now that's some fucking wording right there. Her pussy lips clenched and squeezed a non-existent dick as she climaxed ferociously into Marco's mouth. He licked, yes he did. He licked his lips clean and smiled at her as he gently brushed the mushed hair out of her face. See, I can't even talk English anymore. Was I good for your first time, Star?" he asked as he began fiddling around with his junk drawer. There were several pamphlets on STDs and unplanned pregnancy left over from the school's Safe Sex Awareness Week. Marco was glad he lived in a place like California, even if a lot of its liberal agenda and other attitudes was not to his liking. Their understanding for safe sex was a blessing. "Damn good, Marco. You were damn good," she said, rubbing her hips. Okay, she said, rubbing her hips softly. So, you ready for the main attraction?" she said as he found what he was looking for. His drawer contained, among the literature, packets and rolls of condoms, little cardboard tubes of dental dams. Hey, they were meant to be used on girls too. Latex gloves and bottles of lube. He hadn't used these previously because, sure, that the both they both were cashing in their V-chips meant there was no chance of them having any diseases, while the safety nut in him always also wanted to use them just to avoid the germs they'd naturally have there. But the allure of her taste was too good. Refill. Oh shit, sorry about that. Cider's in the fridge, not in the room. Yeah. V-chips. No diseases. Blah blah blah. Her taste was too good. "I have to get something first, Star. I just want us to be safe if we're going to go all the way," he said as he found it, a Trojan brand with ribs for her pleasure. He heard Star chuckle softly as she spread her legs apart in anticipation. "Always one to be concerned with the safety of yourself and others, eh, Marco?" Star said as she ran her wand over I'm really sorry. What the fuck is going on? Star said as she ran her wand over. Neither as soft glow ran over her. Sure. Marco raised an eyebrow softly. "Special spell that will make my... Wait, what? Is this fucking princess speech? I have no... Yeah, possibly. Special spell that will make my virginity stay intact. Muni is a little on the less knowledgeable side when it comes to the ideals of that sort of thing, but no, I won't be sleeping on sheets designed to catch blood on my... She stopped herself from finishing and keeping things from getting awkward. Star wasn't, and thank you, people working outside. Listen to glorious noises. No? Alright then. Star wasn't, as far as she knew, in an arranged marriage to Prince, but she didn't know if it would be Marco that'd be the one betrothed to her. Still, she always envisioned her reign as the ruler of Muni being the first in a new direction on her homeworld and doing away with the archaic ideals. Don't think about it, Star, just enjoy it, he said, ripping the condom wrapper and pulling the rubber ring out. Star looked at it quizzically. What's that thing, Marco? Is it a candy balloon that got pressed into a funny shape? She asked as Marco lay on his back and started unrolling the condom along his dick. Sorry, it's a funny word. No, Star, you... dick. No, Star, you got your method of staying pure. We on Earth have ours. Didn't you read the pamphlets on safe sex that week? He asked before Marine Star came to school the Monday after NSFW ended. Well, basically, this barrier on my penis will prevent you from getting pregnant. It also protects against diseases partners who don't know each other's full history could get at. Not that I'm saying you have anything like that, just that it's one of the secondary purposes of a condom. Secondary, yeah, I guess. He felt like an idiot talking about it. He felt like an idiot talking about his as she prepared to have sex with him. But she didn't understand. Not to mention it was the right thing to do rather than being unprotected completely. You do care so much about me, Marco. I think that makes you my best of my besties ever. Tom? She clapped her hands over her mouth and blushed at what she just said. No, it's okay. What happened with him, Star? Marco asked as he popped the tube of lube and spread a copious amount onto his covered manhood. Yes, the condom-covered manhood stalks the night. Well, Tom didn't want to even bother with magical protection. Aside the virginity preservation spell, I don't know why that's a thing. He said just wing it and do it. It was that reason I broke up with him. Marco placed a hand on her long blonde hair and smiled warmly at her. He kissed her cheek softly as he lay on his back with his cock at full mast. You know I'd do anything to make you feel protected and loved by me, Star. It felt odd saying that word. Did he love her? They were about to take each other's virginities, well, not really, thanks to the magic, right? And were great friends, so of course they did, right? Star straddled his body as he held Star here, Star there. Star straddled his body as he held her hips, softly guiding her over his erection. Star locked eyes with him as she planted her hands on his chest for support. I'm glad you do. Now shut up and let me work, she said as she slid slowly and cautiously onto him. Her lip quivered as she felt him enter her. She was careful, and it was nothing like her mother's stories. It'll always hurt to lose your purity as a punishment for it, and every time after it will feel like nothing to you. A princess is not meant to enjoy that disgusting act, Star, but it must be done. She was dead wrong. Marco's manhood was enveloped in the warm and squishy folds of her pussy. Her inner muscles rippled and undulated softly along his dick. They massaged and pleasured the throbbing, veiny mass of man meat as she took him inch by inch. Oh God, Star! Marco cried out as he held at her. Marco looked up at her and saw her eyes light up as she took his hands and held them, as she felt the fulfillment of a cock in her for the first time. Star giggled as the feeling became... How is it if she was fucking the other guy? How does she feel the cock? Oh wait, shit, it's the first time. It's magic, just magic, I'm sorry. Magic fucks with me. Cock for the first time. Star giggled as the feeling became almost like a ticklish massage as she rocked her hips gently and started riding him lovingly. Oh Marco, this feels so fucking good, she cried out as her head tilted back in sheer bliss as she felt her body tense up and then relax in the pleasure. Star began riding him faster. Marco began emitting loud gasps and grunts as he felt her walls squeeze and pulsate around the latex barrier of his condom. The ridges in the latex stimulated and pleasured her in ways Star never thought possible. Marco reached up and placed his hand tenderly on her breasts. He rubbed and squeezed the tender lump softly as Star rode him faster. He felt her inner pussy wall start to clamp down and clench tighter than ever. She was about to climax again. Star, you okay? He asked as she felt her body give one final bounce on his cock, as her pussy sprayed a soft stream of clear juices onto his thighs and the sheets. Marco was close himself, and he took over a bit. He took over a bit. How fucking manly of him. He placed his hands on her hips and made her ride him a little more. The post-orgasm was pleasant, as he felt his cock spurt and throb as he fired off into the semen reservoir. I'd never felt better in my life, Marco Diaz, she said as she slid off him and collapsed sweaty and exhausted beside him. Marco felt his man-meat soften as he carefully unrolled the condom, making sure to keep the top sealed. He gave the rubber a final inspection and was glad Trojan yet again lived up to its moniker of the #1 trusted brand. Yeah, sure. Star rested her head on Marco's chest as he wrapped the condom up in tissues and placed it in the trash bin. Interesting fucking details, huh? Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm glad to be... I hate reading that kind of onomatopoeia. It fucking sucks. I'm glad your first time was the best, Star, he said as he stroked her hair lovingly. The long afternoon was giving away to the nightfall outside, and after a long day training and now what they just did, sleep began to take them both. The last thing Marco found himself saying before the sun went down and before the sleep began to completely overtake him was, "My princess." Star giggled softly as her own sleepiness took over, and she whispered back in his ear, "My prince. My prince." No. Where's the fucking alcohol? Her saying that didn't spoil their loving mood in the slightest. If you just listen to all that, there's no reason for anyone to give Mr. Servant any kind of shit, because I completely destroyed that story. It has a few typos, it's grammatically shit, it's not a bad story. Yay. I think I just read fiction about two 14-year-olds fucking. I just don't give a fuck. So yes, warning, may contain awful. I think I said that. But it didn't contain awful, did it? Besides meat. See you next time, fuckers.